Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. First of all, let me say thank you to all of you who watched this presentation video, and thank you to Ma'am Amelia for this opportunity. Right now, me and my partner will explain to you about one of the important part in English grammar. Me and my partner will explain to you about adjective clause. But before we start, let me introduce myself and my partner. My name is Muthi'a Hafifa Maryam with student ID number 071, and my partner there are Putri Salma Ningayu with student ID number 011, Ridho Prasetya with student ID number 005, and Fauzan Aziman with student ID number 029. We're from Sriwijaya University, especially Electrical Engineering Class A Indralaya. So, first will be explained by Ridho Prasetya. Let's get started.
Today, my groups I can explain adjective clause. Do you know what is adjective clause? No. So, before it, we have to know the clause first. Clause are units of grammar that contain at least verb and subject. Do you know what is clause? Good. Now I can explain you about adjective clause. Do you know what is adjective clause? So, adjective clause, or also called relative clause, is a dependent clause that modifies noun or pronoun. It tells which one or what kind. Adjective clause almost always come right after the noun they modify. Next, the function of adjective clause. Adjective or relative clause serve to explain the noun or pronoun in a sentence. This clause cannot stand alone. It must accompanied by noun or pronoun to form new information. Next, I can give you one example about adjective clause. Example: Daniel, who was late again today, sits next to me in English. For example, consists two clauses. One clause is called main clause. That is, Daniel was late again today. And other clause is called subclause. That is, Daniel sits next to me in English. So that you know more about adjective clause, I can give you the characteristic about adjective clause. The characteristic of adjective clause: 1. Because adjective clause include clause, so adjective clause must have verb and subject. 2. Adjective clause or relative clause generally begin with a relative pronoun like that, which, whom, and was, or relative adverb like when, where, and why. 3. Adjective clause give a new information about noun. So, do you understand about adjective clause? Good. In adjective clause consists 4 parts. That is: 1. Relative pronoun as subject. 2. Relative pronoun as object. 3. Relative pronoun as possessive. And the last, relative adverb. Now I can explain you about relative pronoun as subject. The conjunction of relative pronoun as subject is who, which, and that. Who used to replace to person, which used to replace non-person, and that used to replace person or non-person. The person of relative pronoun as subject is conjunction plus verbs. So let's we go to example. Example 1. The man is clever. He wears blue hat. Remember, adjective clause consists two clauses. The man is clever is called main clause, and he wears blue hat is called sub clause. We must combine two clauses will be the man who wears blue hat is clever. The man is noun phrase who wears blue hat is adjective clause is verb and clever is adjective. Next, other example. We see a cat. It eats a fish. We see a cat is called main clause, and it eats a fish is called sub clause. The combine of clause is we see a cat which eats a fish. For example, content different, that is conjunction. Example 1, a play conjunction who, and example 2, a play conjunction which. Why different? Because example 1, the noun is person, it's, that is he, and example 2, the noun is animal or non-person, that is cat. So, do you understand about relative pronoun as subject? Good. The other part adjective clause will explain by my partners. I think my explain is enough. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Putri Salma Ningayu and I will explain about relative pronoun as object. If we talk about relative pronoun as subject in before, we use who, which, and that, but in this session we use whom, which, and that. Which is for non-person, whom is for person, and that is for both person or non-person. The important things that you should remember, whom, which, and that are always followed by subject plus verb. Okay, let's jump to the example. The first sentence is I see a cat, and the second sentence is my sister looks after it. If we combine that two sentences, the sentence become like this. I see a cat. Next, we choose what conjunction we must use. Oh, the cat is a non-person, so the conjunction that we must use is which. I see a cat which my sister looks after. We need to remember again, relative pronoun as object are followed by subject plus verb. So after conjunction which, there is a subject my sister and looks after as a verb. And then where is it? We are not use it again because in one sentence there can't be two objects. Next, the second example. The first sentence is I met the guy, and the second sentence is I accidentally hugged him yesterday. Accidentally hugged him is explain the guy in the first sentence. Because the guy explained as object, so conjunction that we must use is between whom, which, and that. If we combine that two sentences, the sentence become like this. I met the guy, and we choose again what's conjunction that we must use. Oh, the guy is a person, so that the conjunction that we must use is whom. I met the guy whom I accidentally hugged yesterday. So where is him? Why not I accidentally hugged him yesterday? Same like example number 1. In one sentence, there can be two objects. And then how about that? If I have explained about whom and which, actually that have a same meaning like whom and which. That can be explained person or non-person. I will give you an example like example number 1. I see a cat which my sister looks after. The conjunction which is can be replaced by that. So the sentence become like this. I see a cat that my sister looks after. And for the second example, I met the guy whom I accidentally hugged yesterday, whom can replace by that too. So the sentence become I met the guy that I accidentally hugged yesterday. Okay, just it my presentation and hope you like it. Thank you.
Okay, next I will explain about relative pronoun as possessive. Relative pronoun as possessive is an explanation of ownership. Now, we only use one conjunction, that is whose plus noun. Whose plus noun is used to a person or non-person and preceded by subject verb or verb. For examples, we got two sentences here. The first one reads Pranoto is in Paris, and the second is Fendi brings his novel. From these sentences, the same ownership is Pranoto from sentences 1 and his novel from sentences 2. His novel on second sentences is explained Pranoto ownership on first sentences. Because Pranoto is a person and he also a male, so we use the ownership words his. Then, if we combine all these sentences, it will be read Pranoto, whose novel Fendi brings is in Paris. So, Pranoto is in Paris, not the novel. Okay, I think that's all I can explain about relative pronoun as possessive. Thank you.
Next, I will explain to you about relative adverb. We know that relative pronoun, which is who, whom, which, and that, is used to replace noun or pronoun. So, how about relative adverb? If you still remember, there are three of adverb. There are adverb of time, adverb of place, and adverb of reason. Relative adverb where, when, and why is used to replace adverb. So, if you want to use adverb and talk about time, that will be when. If you want to use adverb and talk about place, that will be where. And if you want to talk about reason, that will be why. So, if you want to replace adverb of time, place, and reason, we will use the W word when, where, and why. Before we talk about relative adverb, let's take a look at the adverbial clause in normal sentences first. For example, we met on this day. We is a subject, met is a verb, and on this day is adverbial clause talk about time. They went to the mall. They is a subject, when is a verb, and to the mall is adverbial clause talk about place. And last, I sing because I'm happy. I is a subject, sing is a verb, and because I'm happy is a adverbial clause talk about reason. So, if we want to replace this adverbial clause to form a relative clause, that we will use the W word when, where, and why to replace them and form the relative clause. And now, take a look at these two of sentences. First, the picture was taken in the park, and second, I used to play in the park. Now, let's make the first sentences as the main clause and the second sentences as a relative clause. And we know that in the park is adverbial clause talk about place. So, if we want to replace this adverbial clause, we will use the adverb of place where. So if we'll combine these two of sentences, it will be like this. The picture was taken in the park where I used to play. I used to play in here as a relative clause. And why we put right after in the park? Because we want to give extra information about the park. So, this is how we form the relative clause. Because adverbial clause in here talk about place, we use the relative adverb where to replace it. Now, I will tell you about adverb of time. There is two sentences here. I remember the day and we first met on the day. Let's assume that I remember the day as the main clause and the message. And now I want to give you more information about the day. So we make the second sentences as a relative clause. If we see in the second sentences, we know that on the day as adverbial clause talk about time. So if we want to replace the adverbial clause, we will use the adverb of time, which is when. So, if we'll combine these two of sentences, it will be like this. I remember the day when we first met. Yeah, this is how we make relative clause with relative adverb. So, when is used to replace the adverbial clause to talk about time. And last but not least, I will give you explain about adverb of reason, which is why. There is two sentences here. First, tell me the reason, and second, you came home late for a reason. We can see in the second sentences, for a reason is adverbial clause talk about reason. So, because we want to give extra information about the reason, and we know that for a reason is adverbial clause, we will use why to replace the adverbial clause and combine these two of sentences. If we combine these two of sentences, it will be like this. The reason why you came home late. And now, we're giving extra information about the reason. What reason? The reason why you came home late. Okay, that's all from me, and we can conclude that if we want to replace adverbial clause and combine with relative clause, we will use relative adverb when, where, and why to give extra information about time, place, and reason. Okay, that's all the presentation from our group, and if you have question based on topic in this presentation, please feel free to contact us. Thank you very much for your attention, and we hope after you watching this presentation video, you will more understand about adjective clause and implements it very well. And we apologize if there's something wrong or missed in this presentation video. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.